Hi folks, Carlton from the Pharmacy Seeds Network. I've had a bunch of questions recently from viewers and subscribers asking what the radio is and whether or not it's a CB. It's not a CB, it's amateur radio. It's a VHF 2-meter radio, this particular radio. And it's licensed under the FCC. Well, I'm licensed under the FCC to use that radio. And it's really not all that hard to get your ham license, and it's a lot of fun, and it's an excellent community. And I thought this was a good time to respond to the question because of what's going on with COVID and uncertainties about the future. I know there's a lot of people panicking. I'm not panicking, and I hope you're not panicking out there. The best thing you can do for any situation like this is to stay calm. That said, today's video is about getting your amateur radio license, basically what it entails. I'm going to address here in the US. I don't know about other countries. I do know Canada has a similar type program, and most other countries do. But I'm not versed in those. I'm from the United States, and that's what I'm familiar with. So we are licensed under the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, and we have an organization that represents us. It's called the ARRL, or ARRL as we commonly call it. That stands for the American Radio Relay League, and their headquarters is in Connecticut, and their headquarters station call sign is W1AW. They do all sorts of stuff on the radio, and also they have a website which I will share links with so that you can learn how to go about getting your amateur radio license and get started if that's something you're interested in. I appreciate all the support and interest, so without further ado, let's get into it. The FCC licenses amateur radio. Amateur radio is regulated by the Federal Communications Commission under the Communication Act of 1934. It is also subject to numerous international agreements. All amateur radio operators must be licensed. In the U.S., there are 3 license classes. The higher class of license, the more frequencies are available. Earning each higher class license requires passing a more difficult examination. Although regulated by the FCC, license exams are given by volunteer groups of amateur radio operators. Operating under organizations called volunteer examiner coordinators, the volunteers administer and grade tests and report results to the FCC, which then issues the license. U.S. licenses are good for 10 years before renewal, and anyone may hold one, except a representative of a foreign government. Okay, so more recently, ham radio has been around for a long time, obviously since the Act of 1934, the Communications Act of 1934, but more recently they did some restructuring, and there used to be 6 classes of licenses, and now there are 3. So license restructuring. In December 1999, after a lengthy review of the amateur radio licensing system, the FCC began issuing major changes. In April 2000, the number of license classes dropped from 6 to the current 3. In addition, in February 2007, the FCC discontinued requiring Morse code proficiency tests. The FCC issued these new regulations to streamline the licensing system and to bring the amateur radio service into the digital age. While the new license system might not make it easier to get into amateur radio, licensed operators can move from beginner to expert level much more quickly. All right, if you're not familiar with Morse code, go read up on Morse code. It's the first version of digital radio, really. Anyway, we'll move on down here. I'll just briefly go over the 3 different license classes, and that'll be that. So, the technician license. The technician license class is the entry-level license of choice for most new ham radio operators. To earn the technician license requires passing 1 examination totaling 35 questions on radio theory, regulations, and operating practices. The license gives access to all amateur radio frequencies above 30 MHz, allowing these licenses the ability to communicate locally and most often within North America. It also allows for some limited privileges on HF, also called shortwave bands, used for international communications. Alright, the shortwave bands that are allowed on the technician license is the 10-meter band. It's only 1 band, and you get the frequencies between 28.3 and 28.5 megahertz. And currently with the solar flares, the 10-meter band is pretty dead. So it doesn't provide a lot of opportunity to get out on international airways and take advantage of the skip effect off of the ionosphere. All right. So the next class up is the general license. The general class license grants some operating privileges on all amateur radio bands and all operating modes. This license opens the door to worldwide communications. Earning the general class license requires passing a 35-question examination. General class licenses must have also passed the technician written examination. So you can actually take these all in one testing session if you can pass the test. So you would take the 35-question technician exam. If you pass that, you would take the general exam. If you pass that, you could take the extra exam. And the fee to take the test is the same. It's about $15 to test. And I will provide a link below on how you can look up where to test, or where upcoming VE sessions will be. VE sessions are volunteer examiner sessions. Our club, the Overlook Mountain Amateur Radio Club, provides a couple of these sessions a year, and I know other local clubs do as well. And I will also post a link to our club's website, and you can always check on there and see if we're going to have any VE sessions coming up, because we put that stuff on our website. So, finally we come to the third level of amateur radio license. This is the amateur extra license. I am an amateur extra class license holder. The amateur extra class license conveys all available U.S. amateur radio operating privileges on all bands and all modes. Earning the license is more difficult. It requires passing a thorough 50-question exam. Extra class licensees must also have passed all previous license class examinations. So theoretically, you could sit down in the testing room if you had studied for the tests, and you could pass the technician 35-question test, the general 35-question test, and the extra test, and be done. Have your amateur radio license. And your license will last for 10 years. So, and the renewal is just they mail you a, do you want to renew, and you mail it back with, updated information. So it's pretty simple. It provides access to a really awesome community of people on all levels. I have not had my HF gear hooked up in quite some time, but even just here on the local 2-meter repeater here on the Overlook Mountain Amateur Radio Club repeater, we stay in touch, we communicate, we support each other. This situation with COVID, I understand there's actually going to be a net starting up soon on the repeater, I think daily, to check in on people. And so that should be an excellent opportunity to see how amateur radio can help keep communities rolling through disasters. If you're not aware, during the 9/11 attacks, the terror attacks, the trade centers, amateur radio operators were one of the few people who were actually able to provide communications, because most of the antenna towers were on top of those buildings, and when those buildings collapsed, no more radio, no more cell phone, no more all kinds of stuff, and amateur radio operators came in and filled in that void and provided communications. And there are nets all around the planet that do that, and it's really a diverse hobby of supportive people. It's really cool. Anyway, stay tuned on my channel here. I will be trying to either live stream or record the upcoming COVID nets, both so you can see what's going on here in the Hudson Valley regarding things as they evolve with that, and also so you can get an idea of the sense of community we have in our amateur radio community. And that's that for now. I guess I'll provide links below, and I hope you found this informative or interesting, and I hope you'll like and subscribe and share, and thanks for watching the Pharmacy Seeds Network. Look forward to seeing you in the next video.